respect the amount of time you've chosen to give with a performance that most people can enjoy. So it's just, I just sort of approach the two things differently.
Thank you.
Balls.
If Sheldon from Big Bang Theory was to show up right now, what would you do?
I would just walk up really close to him, really invade his personal space, peer intently into his forehead, just to make sure that I remembered to make the bed in my house.
I want to know, where did you get your cool AFL shirt?
I got my cool AFL shirt from you. And where would other people be able to get a cool AFL shirt if they were so interested in that?
You can get your cool AFL shirt that says AFL Lives, or the El Romane family crest shirt. You can find it on my Twitter account, PKMN_trainer, Pokemon trainer on Twitter. Enjoy. Actually, I do have a question. Sorry, my own advertiser.
Yeah, not a lot of questions are sponsored, actually. That's yeah. And usually when a question is sponsored, I'm the one getting paid for it. But anyway, go ahead.
Something you said earlier really resonated with me, in the fact that you said you didn't really get a con and the brotherhood until you were a bit older. And I didn't get a chance at PAX to thank you, but when I was growing up, I lived in the middle of nowhere in a redneck community, so playing video games was a very lonely experience for me. And being into comic books, my brother and I grew up reading them and playing video games. I watched my brother play through Clock Tower on the PS1. Does anybody else remember that game?
Some of them do.
Nightmares, okay. And so coming to PAX the senior year of high school and going to Emerald City the freshman year of college, it was really life-changing, because I got to see and be with people and not be afraid to be a nerd, and to have people like you and Gabe and Tycho from Penny Arcade say, be yourself and be a nerd and it's okay, was really helpful to me growing up. So
That's awesome. I had a panel at this convention a couple of years ago that Ed Brubaker described as like a nerd AA meeting. We all just sort of got together and shared our nerd stories. And there was this girl who she was in high school, and this was a number of years ago, and she said, I just want to know that it gets better. I just want to know that like it's okay, and what happens, and like I turned into a dad, and I was like, yeah, it does, it does get better, and it gets better because of people like us. We create an environment where it's okay to love this stuff, and it's okay to be who we are, and the sooner we can get to that without spending a lot of time in edition wars, I think the better. And I'm really happy to play a small part in helping to create a world that is a little bit friendlier to people like us. Or if not friendlier, at least we know where to go.
Hi, well, first time this, long time listener, first time stalker.
Security.
Yeah, you pretty.
What he said? I don't know.
A lot of celebrities, especially gamer and geek celebrities, have been doing voice acting in video games, and I was wondering if that's ever something you've been interested in doing.
I do a number of voices for video games. Currently, I'm Robin in the DC universe which is really great. I did a whole bunch of different voices for Red Dead Redemption. If you buy newspapers from anyone, you're probably buying them from me. And then I'm also a guy that walks around the streets and talks about rumors and says all these different things about John Marston. I did a bunch of Ghost Recon games, and I was Richard Burns in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. It's a really wonderful job. I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful that I get to work in animation and video games like I do. It's a very small community. It is the most professional industry that I've ever been involved in. And it's very, very, very hard to like learn the secret handshake and get into that. And it's a lot of fun. I think because I play so many games, my sessions are really quick because I know what, as a player, I know what the lines I'm recording are going to sound like. I know where they're going to come from. And I think that's kind of how I got in. Because at a time where they were bringing over voice actors who were real successful in animation and weren't gamers, I was able to come in and do it in half the time. And then I just got lucky and they never made me leave. So it's really, really a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yes. Hi.
I have been so entertained by what you've been saying for the last hour, I'm sure I wouldn't come up with a better question. But,
Way to undermine yourself, dude.
you gotta be humble. Anyway, I just wonder what you thought of Tron Legacy. You mentioned, the game. What did you think of the movie?
I have not seen Tron Legacy. Listen, I don't know what world all of you live in, but I live in a post-Phantom Menace world.
Oh. Ow.
There are certain things that I love that I have certain childhood memories that I'm not keen to have fisted again. Now, let me just be clear. If anyone in this room or within the sound of my voice saw Tron Legacy and enjoyed it, good for you. Awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's not a chance I'm willing to take. That's not a value judgment on anyone else. I did play a pre-release of the video game at E3 last year and had a real good time playing it, which surprised me because usually movie tie-in games are awful. But this particular one was a really good time. Oh, and speaking of games, I want to make sure that I tell you all about this. There's a really, really fun free rogue-like video game that you can get for Windows and Mac, and unfortunately it doesn't run on Linux, that is called Desktop Dungeons. It is so much fun, and one of the greatest 10 to 15 minute time killer games ever. I absolutely love it and highly recommend you all check it out. I think I probably have time for one more, but I'll go as quickly as I can.
Hello.
Hi.
I actually have two questions, one of which doesn't really pertain to you at all.
Then ask the other one.
Okay. Well, actually, that one's not really a question. When I was little and my dad made me watch Star Trek, we bonded over our mutual hatred of Wesley Crusher.
All those people behind you who aren't going to get to ask their question, you took up their time. Listen, I'm glad that you bonded with your dad over how much you hated Wesley. That's super awesome.
But now we're bonding over how much we both love your blog.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
All kidding aside, I have met a lot of people who are now adults who watched Star Trek The Next Generation when we were all kids. And the two things that I hear more than anything else are Star Trek gave me something in common with my parents when we didn't have anything else in common at all, and I didn't know it at the time, but I treasure it now, which is sort of how my kid and I watched. We watched Battlestar Galactica together, and we watched Fringe together, and we even watched Dollhouse together. We watched Firefly.
Where have these people been?
So I know as a dad, how wonderful that is. The other thing that I hear very frequently is I watched Star Trek Next Generation growing up, and I was the same age as Wesley. I thought Wesley was really cool, and now I am a scientist, an engineer, and a teacher, a doctor, some really cool thing, which is great, because when I was a kid, I would always be near Jimmy Doohan at conventions, and people would say to Jimmy, I'm an engineer because I love Sky. And just to have a little tiny piece of that legacy is great. A friend of mine, I didn't know this until 2 days before he left for Antarctica, went to Antarctica to drive robots around the ice.
Nice.
Because he's like an engineer guy who does that. And he told me, I just thought that you should know before I go to Antarctica that I do this because I thought the journey were awesome and I wanted to be an engineer. So it's cool. It's really neat to have that thing in, on my resume, like inspired children 20 years ago. Yes.
One, this is a very tall microphone.
I believe you.
And two, if we're on the topic of Star Trek Next Generation,
Get the fuck out of the way.
How did any of you handle Picard's Gary Sue attitude?
Gary
And-
Sue, what's that?
It's like a guy version of Mary Sue, like think Twilight, only guys.
Next.
Did you just compare Star Trek The Next Generation to Twilight? That just happened, right? Next question.
I have a question about leverage.
Okay.
Are we ever going to see chaos again?
Oh, I hope so. I really, really hope so. I was having dinner with Amy Berg a few nights ago, and I was telling her about this story of H.B. Gary and H.B. Gary Federal and the really insidious work that these scumbags were doing to really undermine democracy. And we were talking about it, and I said, it seems like it would be like a leverage story. Like it just seems like it's chaos could be Aaron Barr. And I texted Rogers immediately, and I was like, dude, chaos is the H.B. Gary Federal guy, Aaron Barr. And Rogers texts back, chaos killed Andrew Jackson? To which I replied, yes, with a sequel injection. I don't know if I'll get to go back, but I really, really hope that I will. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, so if I'm not, let's pretend I didn't. But I wrote the introduction to one of the Leverage RPG source books, and I think you'll like it. I had a really good time writing it. I believe you are the last question.
Oh, yippee, yeah.
This is going to be called the I'm Disappointed Hour. Go ahead.
What did you think of your portrayal in User Friendly as the guy who could work for like a quarter on the video game?
God, that was a long time ago. Wasn't it? It must have been, because I don't remember. I was happy with it? Is that the right answer? I thought it was great. I'm awesome. Did he have a beard? No, he didn't have a beard. Someone asked you to ask this question, right? You were put up to this by an evil person, no? Wow, this is awkward now. Let's have an awkward moment.
Oh yeah, and I'm wearing a shirt.
And you're wearing my shirt. Okay, really last question.
All right, so I gotta know, have you had any bad fan experiences?
Yes.
All right, thanks.
I want to thank you all very much for coming today. I'm in the celebrity signing area place until they boot us out today. I'm between Felicia and Frakes, which is pretty awesome. I've got copies of The Happiest Days of My Lives, of Our Lives, and a few other of my books. And I hope you come down and meet me. And the last thing I want to say before I get off the stage is I stand with the unions in Wisconsin. Thank you.